But welcome. Chris Forster is joining us there from Cape Town or the Paul. I don't know exactly where Chris is sitting. This is episode 8 of Planning Your Kids' Career. Chris, please introduce yourself before we start everything.
Yes, thank you, Carl. I'm talking to you here from Durbanville in Cape Town. Um, my name is Chris Foster. I'm the Group CEO of Stadio. Stadio being a higher education holdings company. We've acquired 6 brands, private higher education institutions that we have now consolidated 4 of the 6 into Stadio Higher Education. And then the other 2 brands that operates alongside our Stadio Higher Education brand is that of AFDA and Mole Park Education. So those are the 3 brands that we have currently in our Stadio Holdings Group.
Chris, the major thing, but you must also come in when you're ready, is we've now gone through universities and now rugby academies, and we're going to clubs in the next episode. And everybody, most of the parents want their kids to keep on studying while advancing their rugby career. And it's not necessary to go to the university. It's not necessary to go to an academy. I mean, you guys also provided service. My first question is: do you also have degrees? I mean, what's the spectrum of what you give to or what you can give to the children to study?
Yeah. Yes, Carl. We offer the full spectrum of higher education, from those students who perhaps do not qualify to enter a bachelor's degree. We then have what we call a bridging higher certificate program. And then after completing a higher certificate, the student can then continue with a B degree, honors degree thereafter, moving on into masters, and in the Stadio group, we also offer PhDs. So the full spectrum, right from NQF level 5 all the way into 10, offering you exactly the same spectrum of qualifications in comparison with any of the public universities in our country.
Okay, and you've got 1 or 2 rugby players that's going to get it qualify or get it what you call it, get their degree at the end of the year.
Yes, definitely. Quite a number of them already studied with our group. Me being a keen rugby supporter, obviously we make sure that we give some extra attention to the rugby boys. But yes, over time, quite a number of players. Currently, a few Currie Cup players enrolled with us. So yes, definitely we have players going there, especially the distance learning route, where they can determine their own pace of study. That's very popular for the professional sports and joining us.
Chris, yes, that's very exciting news. I have to say, being part of one of our provincial unions in South Africa for quite a number of years, and being responsible for the recruitment of young players, this has always been a big issue that we, that became a wall, unscalable wall actually. Not all players, even if we, if a player actually gets a desired qualification to go into the degree studies after matric, they often end up short because of 1 or 2 critical subjects that they don't have enough, or the marks are not good enough. Like, for example, science and maths. So immediately you're actually building that bridge, which is great. One of the other issues that we had over a period of time was players, some of the players not even attaining matric or a proper matric that can actually add value to that or improve their marks or get themselves into a position. That has been a big issue in the past. We know, and we still recommend players, if they can really go into a degree through a university. Obviously, at the moment, as it stands, they have one or two benefits specifically with regards to being part of a Varsity Cup setup. Although once you are linked to a union, that's also not that easy, because the union would want you to spend some more time training and practicing there. And then obviously the distance learning route just gives flexibility. And that to me is the main benefit that we have at the moment. I'm not talking players out of university opportunities, not at all. I'm just saying that at best, even with a huge drive that we had at the lines, at best, you would get 40% of your players uh, um, qualifying to get into degree studies. And obviously, as you go along, there would be a number of that players falling by the wayside, not being able, to handle university studies and the professional leg of it. So I'm very excited to know, and I think there's been huge progress over the last 3 to 5 years in terms of distance learning that's actually filling up these gaps.
You're so right, Bart. I think for a rugby player to take a full load, let's say degree load, study load, with being a contracted rugby player at the union becomes really tough. Due to what the union actually expect from them, not always being able to attend classes. And that's what makes the distance learning option so attractive for a professional sports person. Because you must remember, you don't have to take the full load. You can typically take a 3-year degree and do it over a period of 6 years. And you can also do your assessments, for example, via different options. Now, let me give you a practical example. We had a player in 2019 that played for the Stormers. He played Super Rugby. And we made it possible for him to sit for an exam in Auckland, in New Zealand. So all of these options are available for these players. And we do realize that it's not always possible for them to fit into the scheduled assessments and examination periods. But there are ways in accommodating these players. Obviously, there are some minimum standards that they must meet during their studies. They have to do assessments. It's not that they can just go and sit and write exams. They must show progress during the year. But all of these things, they have a bit of more control by doing distance learning.
Because one question that comes up from our side is, what's your pricing if you compare to a normal university?
Definitely one of the points very high on our agenda. If you look at our 3 core values, it's that of widening access, alignment to the world of work, and then thirdly, student support. Now, to really widen access, you have to be affordable. And a typical degree program a year will cost you between 20 to 28,000 Rand, depending on which degree you take. That is a typical pricing for a degree first-year student.
And when the guy studies and he's got a problem of understanding something, do you have an online help system or something for him to phone in or to write in and say, I don't understand this, can you help me with it?
Yes, they do have online classes. Then they also have weekly frequent videos of lecturers that they can watch on their own time. They don't need to attend a specific session. So all the sessions are recorded and a learner can then watch it on their preferred time and then do their assessment tasks.
Yes. My last question, is there a minimum time or a maximum time that you can qualify or get your qualification?
For a typical 3-year degree, the maximum time is 6 years via distance learning.
So that's the same as the normal universities?
Yeah. So you can take half a load every year, which is very fair.
Chris, just a last question from my side. Are there any possibilities, if not now, maybe in the future, that students can access in terms of possible bursary schemes, even if it's not with Stadio itself, that we can advise parents and say, listen, there's certain avenues that you can follow, whether it's a government bursary scheme, is Stadio in line with the current government bursary schemes? I think that is important because we all know that that's quite an issue to a lot of households that cannot afford studies.
Now, unfortunately, because we're a private institution, we do not qualify for the NSFAS bursaries. Those are government bursaries. But we do make available every year top achievers bursaries and then discretionary bursaries. For example, for an excellent sports child that wish to continue with their studies. So yes, we do have bursary applications every year, and we do make a few dedicated bursaries available to sports students. But no, we do not qualify for those NSFAS bursaries. It's only individual performance-based bursaries.
Chris, thanks a lot. I think what you've just done is prove to us that you don't have to go to university to get a degree. I mean, your degrees is also accepted worldwide, as is the other universities, real universities in South Africa, if I might call them that. And you give an opportunity to a kid that must go and work and play rugby, an opportunity to study, and a viable opportunity to study.
Yeah, Carl, and I think even, for those who want to look wider than Stadio, just make sure that you study with an accredited institution. That's very, very important, because without doing that, your qualification will not have any value. But there are other opportunities outside our traditional public universities. And definitely, I think for a sports child or a player, rugby player, carrying a heavy load with a union, that is a real alternative. As long as you show progress in your studies, something that's very nice and that I want to conclude with is you can start off with distance learning while you're playing for a union. And those credits that you've passed, you can then transfer them to a public university should you would like to go down into full-time studies again. So it's not that you study economics, for example, at a Stadio institution, and then after you've played rugby, you want to go now to a typical University of Pretoria. You would be able to take those credits and, get exemption for them when joining the university.
What final thoughts from you?
No, thanks, Chris. That was very insightful, and I think especially your last comment is so valid, because in the past, with a lot of long distance options, that was an issue. Getting the accreditation and getting the credits transferred, and we've got several examples of players that has moved around between unions. And, because they were able to also transfer credits into different forms and levels of study. So that in itself is a huge progress for any players to consider. And yes, thank you very much. Very insightful.
Chris, yeah, thanks. And I'm going to upset the academies even more. They quote more than 20 or 25,000 for the courses they give to the children attending the academies, and now they've got an option to study a real degree and maybe attend an academy or play club rugby. I thank you so much.
Thank you, Carl. Thanks for the opportunity.
Great stuff. Thanks.
For Stadio, a qualification isn't just a qualification. It's more students inspired to reimagine their possibilities. With 5 faculties, 10 campuses, and over 50 accredited qualifications, undergraduate and postgraduate studies. Contact distance and blended learning, we're transforming higher education into something that's truly multi-faculty, multi-campus and multi-mode. Stadio, a new vision in higher education.